listening to The Gender Rebels.
I'm Kathleen, a cis woman and ally.
And I'm Faith, a trans woman.
Gender Rebels is a question and answer podcast that explores life outside the gender binary.
A big thanks to our Patreon supporters.
If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/genderrebels. Hey everyone, I'm Kath.
And I'm Faith.
Faith, do we have any listener questions?
We do.
Should I ask it because I usually do the question part?
Yeah.
Okay. This comes from listener
Jeff,
thank you, Jeff. Thank you for writing. And Jeff asked, could you please revisit the episode idea, How to Be Trans on a Boat, but for real? Now, we had briefly touched on this in our Rejected Gender Rebels episodes ideas, linked down below. How to be trans on a boat, because after all, 75% of the planet's surface is covered with water, and some of you are in the Navy, among other reasons. But anyway, Jeff is like, no, but for real, please do trans on a boat, not like a rowboat or a kayak, but I'm thinking a cruise ship. Cruises are a super fun and generally safe way to be your true self without worrying about who you know might see you or whether someone is judging you. But there are some peculiarities, namely getting through security and checking in with your passport's gender marker or name doesn't match your gender presentation, going ashore in a culture which may not be as educated about trans issues, dealing with cruise lines, various policies about gender expression, if there are any, and of course, the bathing suit dilemma. Jeff, in particular, would love to spend a day in a bikini in the Caribbean, but is concerned about how he's going to be treated, about the cruise line, the ship's staff, and how to remain safely tucked so they're not viewed as the freak on the boat that people are staring at. Jeff, good.
Okay. Well, first of all, great question. Lots to unpack there, but let's first start with don't dismiss rowboats and kayaks. Because I gotta say, I've never been on a cruise ship myself, but I have been on a kayak several times, and I've always had a blast.
I've been in at least 2 rowboats and can confirm they get you where you need to go.
Yeah. So, how to be trans in a kayak?
Get in a kayak.
Get in a kayak.
That's it.
Yeah.
Rowboat, basically the same. But okay, a cruise. Okay, so I have never been on a cruise.
I've never been on a cruise.
Honestly,
cruises don't appeal to me.
They appeal to me a little bit.
Because I would go, like, on an Alaska cruise, because I hear that's all just old people. But I wouldn't want to go on, like, that's what I heard.
No, I'm just like, first you say cruises don't appeal to me, and then you come back at me with, here's a cruise that appeals to me.
Because you said you would go on a cruise, and I was like, well, here's the one cruise that might appeal to me.
Thank you.
But quite frankly, I'm an explorer. I like exploring when I travel somewhere, and I feel like being confined on a shopping mall, floating shopping mall with 10,000 children
it's more like
screaming.
A floating hotel.
Yeah, but it's got a shopping mall in there.
Yeah.
I feel like that is not quite my style.
Okay.
I'd rather just, be plopped down in a city and walk around and explore, but that's just me. Other people love cruises.
Yeah.
I've known people who go on cruises every year.
I know people who are like in membership programs, and I don't know if they have something like a punch card, buy 10, get one free kind of thing.
I could see the appeal of having like a contained vacation. Like you don't got to worry about the hotel. You book one thing. Someone said that they love cruises because they live in New York. The cruise departs from New York. You go down to the Caribbean. You come back. Boom, you're already in your city.
Yeah.
You hop on the subway, you're home.
It's good for people who hate to fly.
Yeah.
And also, like, you have all your stuff in one space, and it's like your hotel room follows you to different places.
That's true.
Instead of you schlepping your stuff from one place to another. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
So, let's start with the fact that cruise ships are a strange legal entity, which has to do with the Second World War. And flying flags of convenience.
Whoa,
now, for those of you who don't know, flags of convenience are essentially ships can basically be registered wherever they want.
Yes.
And a few countries, Panama and Liberia being 2 of the biggest, will register ships and give them great deals on taxes and fees and stuff.
Nice.
And very little oversight. And in exchange for that, they get the fees.
Okay.
And so
So they don't get taxes, but they do get fees?
Well, I think there's like a fee to register
Okay.
or something, but it's not as much as you would pay in the United States.
Sure.
So these countries it's kind of like, hey, we'll register your ship. Ships love it because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And legally, there's a lot of loopholes that allow them to kind of operate.
So are we talking about sort of the intersection of maritime law or international
Oh, this is
waters?
100% maritime law.
Okay, cool.
For those of you who tune in to hear things other than maritime law.
Sorry.
Actually, I'll link down to a Wendover Productions video. One of my favorite YouTube channels is all about logistics, and they have some great maritime law videos. So the point here, the important thing is that Panama and Liberia are where these are registered, and Panamanian and Liberian laws apply on the cruise ship.
So even though the boat is in international waters,
Yeah, even if it's in U.S. waters.
that boat is technically Liberian soil or
Yes,
whatever.
basically.
It's the same as being at an embassy. You're subject to those laws.
You're
even
subject
though
to
you
the
are
law.
away from that country.
Yes.
Got it.
And so you should be aware of this, that Panama is only sort of okay with LGBTQ rights.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great, but it's maybe getting better. Liberia, on the other hand, is everything gay or queer or LGBTQ is illegal as heck.
Really?
Yeah. So it's highly unlikely that a Liberian cruise ship is going to arrest an American or a Western European tourist for breaking Liberian law.
Okay.
It's probably not going to happen.
Well, I mean,
because
it depends on the law, but if it's something like LGBT and it's a ship full of Americans...
It could easily be a huge international incident, but there are plenty of countries, like we talked about in our travel law, that don't give a shit about international incidents.
True.
And you should be aware, at least, as unlikely as it is, you are subject to the laws of a country where you being you is illegal. So that's just something, be aware of it.
But we're not talking about, like, our travel episode. This is not like Dubai or something where
It is basically the same as Dubai.
Wait,
Dubai will choose to enforce those laws.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, on a cruise ship, they're probably not going to enforce the laws, because if an American tourist who's trans or gay or something gets arrested
For
breaking
trans
Liberian
or
laws
gay.
on a Carnival cruise line,
Yeah.
that's just going to look really bad for
Okay.
Carnival Cruise Line, for Liberia, for everyone involved. And so they're probably not going to do that. But I'm just saying, be aware of that. You are entering into a situation where you're subject to the laws of a place that is not LGBTQ friendly.
So real quick,
Mm-hmm.
this might not be a fair question for you, but I just want to ask because there might be safety issues. Like you're saying, they probably won't. An international incident. Why do you think that? Is it just because it's never happened before? Or because...
I mean, Americans have definitely gotten into issues where there's a crime committed aboard a ship.
Yeah.
They're sexually assaulted.
Yep.
And the police, you go to the police in your port, say Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and the police can't do anything. Or
'Cause
the police
they
aren't
happen
going
on
to
the
do
boat.
anything. The FBI does sometimes investigate, but again, it's not really their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are the Liberian government's not going to do shit.
I mean, I've heard of other situations in general. If there is an assault or a rape or
Mhm.
something horrible, and I've only heard this from one source, but it's that they will deposit you at your next port of call. Because a cruise ship will go from Florida to Puerto Rico to the Cayman Islands. I don't know. They'll do bip, 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 one stop. They'll offload you at that stop and say, we cannot help you. They'll help you here. Go to the embassy. And you go to the embassy and they can't help you either, or won't, because the crime happened on the ship. So this is just a general safety concern, especially on a situation where people like to drink a lot because they're quote unquote safe, is you don't necessarily have the U.S. government or police officers or really even trained paramedics around. Something to be smart about, something to be aware of.
It is. And that's all. We're making this sound very dire, but in the same case, sometimes you might stop at ports of call, like if you're in the Caribbean, you might stop at a country, again, where, your U.S. protections don't count. and they may not be LGBTQ friendly. And again, it's highly unlikely.
It's unlikely. You're the bread and butter.
But you should be aware. You should just be aware. So, okay.
So I guess travel in groups, right?
Travel in groups, that's a big deal.
Advice?
I mean, it's partly, it's the same way you're safe anywhere.
Sure.
Travel in groups, especially if you're going onto an island or something, or because you're subject to the laws of that island.
For
once
real,
you're there.
what Jeff is saying, it sounds so amazing.
It does. Let's get with some more fun stuff. Let's forget maritime law for just a second.
Although we have links to very bleak
I know people tune into the gender rebels because they want to hear about maritime law, but
I know
today we're going to take a break.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
I would recommend reaching out to your cruise line.
Yes.
And checking, maybe on their website, you may need to look at FAQs, or you may even need to email. Plenty of cruises do like gay cruises.
That's the thing. Yes,
so,
there's gay cruises.
I'm aware. This operates sort of in a way everyone looks the other way.
So Panama is throwing that party, or Liberia is throwing that party?
Liberia probably does because they make money off of it.
Exactly.
And again, these cruise ships are a huge source of money for these countries, so they're not gonna rock the boat. I'm just saying, be aware. So I would check with your cruise line, see if they have any policies specifically regarding changing rooms, restrooms, how transgender passengers are treated. I bet there's a transgender cruise.
Or that check-in, the moment where it's like, here's your name tag or your ID badge, but there's your passport, and I'm sure there are policies in
I would
place.
check with that first. And again, it's going to depend on the cruise line. It's going to depend on individual ones. Some may be more gay friendly than others. But you want to make sure also that if there's a big issue, then, with you presenting, say, drunk asshole in a bar or drunk asshole in a bathroom, you want to make sure the cruise line is going to take your side and not the drunk asshole bigot's side.
Yes.
And that's the biggest issue. So I would just check what their policies are. It's always good to know their policies.
And it wouldn't hurt. Similarly, I know you get a list of all the ports of call in advance.
Yeah.
You know where it's going to stop off. Take an hour. Google each of those locations. And LGBT. Just see what comes up. If it's horrific, maybe stay on the boat that day. If they're cool, if a bunch of tourists have said this place is awesome, I went there, I'm gay, my wife came with, she's trans, we had a blast, they were so sweet and wonderful and welcoming. That's good to know. And that's honestly the best information you can have. Looking up the laws will tell you one thing, but then there's the reality, and there's also how they treat tourists.
Yeah,
so
mostly
do a little bit of homework.
Mostly they're going to be trying to sell you trinkets.
I would like to
and
think
overpriced crap.
Yeah.
Than really hassling you.
Yeah, but I don't want to send one of our listeners into a dangerous situation.
Most cruises, though, they're just going to go to an island where it's like a sheltered, fenced-off area of that island where cruise ships go. It's like when my mom went and had to do a teaching thing in Jamaica and Kingston.
Oh, lucky her.
The beaches there are the tourist areas are walled off with 30-foot high barbed wire fences.
Yeah, that's
so it's
depressing.
Yeah,
scary.
So it is, and we can get into colonialism. It does involve maritime law.
Yeah,
but we won't get into colonialism this time.
I won't let you get into colonialism.
So I would just check with your cruise line, see how they, see what their rules are. It's always good to know the rules because if there's any issues, you can always point to, hey, your policy is XYZ. Beyond that, I think it's basically the same as any form of travel. Like we talked in our Traveling Trans episode. If you have an ID that's different than your presentation, be frank and honest about it. Just don't make a big deal. Just be safe.
Do you ever recommend presenting to match your ID just to get on the boat?
I don't know how the boats work. I know I've flown through TSA with my boy ID when I was presenting female, and it was no big deal.
Okay.
The only weird, they didn't make me take my wig off. They made me take my glasses off at one point, but they did not even make me take my wig off. And I had a shaved head in that driver's license photo. So.
Regular glasses or sunglasses?
Regular glasses.
Oh, they may take
that's
interesting.
So,
okay.
I would just, if you're in that situation, I've been in that situation in bars.
Yeah.
I've been in that situation in multiple times, and you just kind of be frank about it. That's me. Is that you? Yep, I assure you that is me. I looked like that when they took the picture. I don't always look like that.
Yeah.
We actually tried to go in a bar once, and the bartender was like, "That's not you," and I'm like, "Yeah."
The bouncer that you?
Yeah.
And I was like,
you and a couple friends were like, "Yeah, we assure you, that's her."
That's her. But I don't know what the. Yeah, and it worked. We went.
Yeah,
we got in.
it
But
did.
like, shit. That's the only thing you can say. Is that you? Yeah, that's me. Doesn't look like you.
I mean,
thank you, I guess.
Chances are you know your address. That's always the first thing they ask you.
Yeah.
I think that
quiz me on my birthday.
You just kind of have to be frank about it. When you're presenting, especially like a passport, you're presenting your passport. It's official documentation. You can't present anything else.
You can't alter it, obviously.
Say nothing. See how it works, and see what happens. And if there's anything weird, don't be weird about it. Don't be like coy about it. Don't be mysterious about anything.
Yeah,
just be frank.
Different.
This is me. This is not how I
didn't look like this at the time.
Present differently in my day-to-day life. This is just how I want to look on vacation. And I think you'll be fine. Again, most of these tourist places, be it a cruise ship or any sort of tourist situation, they're going to want you to be comfortable because they want to make money off of you.
That's it. Yeah. They want you to leave good reviews after the boat.
Yeah.
I just thought of this right now in my head. Is there any value to going into this whole adventure knowing that someone is going to be an asshole? And in your mind thinking, someone is going to earn Asshole of the Week award. And I am going to bestow that upon some magnificent shitbag. Someone, maybe not an official person, hopefully not. But maybe a staff member, maybe another passenger on the boat.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of prep for, like,
I think
just as we are in the international waters and rules don't apply to us and we get to be who we are, I imagine there's assholes who are like, I get to finally let my
but I feel
freak
like
flag fly.
I feel like every trans person knows how to deal with that asshole.
I agree.
Because we deal with that person
every day.
Every day we deal with that potentiality. And that gets into like sort of how to handle this. This is going to be the same. We talked about the legal stuff. We talked about the ID. It's going to be the same anywhere you go. You know how to travel safely. Trans people know safety because safety is our primary concern. We go outside. We don't want to be hassled. We don't want to be assaulted. We want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And luckily, most people are generally nice enough, decent enough people, or busy enough with their own shit.
Oh, yeah.
that they're not going to go out of their way to cause trouble. And that's the nice thing.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah. So you know how to be safe. You know how to travel with people you trust, have good people around you.
How to watch your back, keep your antenna up, be aware. Yeah.
Know how to get out of a bad situation. And again, y'all do this all the time. This is how we live our lives.
And you shouldn't have to, and it's shitty. But you do have those skills.
Yeah.
I think a cruise would be kind of fun.
I mean, I could see it being
see
fun.
The appeal of the food and the liquor, and just sort of stumbling back to our cabin, and then in the morning, we're waiting for the hangover to go away while you drink coffee and you look out over the water. Maybe there's look, a whale or an iceberg. I'm thinking of an Alaska cruise.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds
I think the Alaska,
fun.
yeah, I would make sure, because I just don't like kids, and I don't want to be on a vacation with tons of kids everywhere.
We'll go in, like, September.
Yeah.
Back to school month. No kids. Us and a bunch of retirees. And we hang out with Gladys and Steven and Shauna and Mick, and it would be a blast. And if anyone listening right now is...
Mick. Mick is a card.
Mick, I cannot get enough of Mick. I swear to God.
And Shauna's... She's okay. She can get a little gossipy when she's had too much sauce.
Right, but she's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
When she's sober and, like, always so apologetic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've heard there are cruises where they're, like, the adult portion is just, like, walled off from the kids portion and the family portion.
Yeah. I mean,
but I don't know.
Sounds okay to me.
Yeah. I just don't know. Cruising doesn't quite appeal to me.
I'm going to have to go on a cruise at some point in my life.
Okay, then we go on an Alaska cruise. I want to see the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
That's been on my bucket list.
Two things that we're going to provide links to are two things I've I've read about cruises, and one is David Foster Wallace's Say it with me, those of you who've read it. A supposedly fun thing I'll never do again. Very cool little essay about a cruise that he was on, including a little kid who sat at his dining table, because you sit with strangers, and ate caviar for the first time and declared it to be blucky, which he found to be a perfect description of caviar.
I didn't particularly like caviar the first time I had, and first and only time I had it.
So it's blucky, huh?
I didn't even like that. Was Russia? That was at the Russian embassy. That was.
You're so fancy.
I did not collude with Russia. I just happened to be at an event at the Russian embassy a few years ago.
It was like the 90s or something.
It was the early 2000s. Okay. Yeah.
The other thing I've read that you will see a link below is Devil in the Deep Blue Sea, which is an amazing book about how the entire cruise industry got started. And between those two sources, you could see how we're coming at you with sort of a negative idea about cruises. That being said, I still want to do one at some point in my life. Yeah. And we'll do it safe, and we'll report back to you guys.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing we've got that Jeff, our listener, brings up, how to tuck.
Oh, the bikini.
We did a whole episode on tucking.
Yes, down below.
Link down below. It's our industrial duct tape, I think we called it.
Industrial thong.
And I don't recommend duct tape. I just don't recommend it.
No. Oh my God, no.
What I recommend, and they don't pay me, but if they want to pay me, they could start paying me.
They should pay you.
KT Pro Tape Extreme. It has to be extreme.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Yeah. So I corrected you on that. I think there's KT tape and there's KT Pro Tape.
No, there's KT Pro Tape and there's KT Pro Tape Extreme.
Got it.
You have to get the extreme. It's waterproof.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, it's called athletic tape. And it's like pseudoscience that you tape this stuff and it somehow makes your muscles better.
Yeah, the jury's still out. But
I don't even think I think the jury's settled that it doesn't do anything. Because no one's even pointed out a mechanism by which it can do anything. It's like
keeps heat in a little bit?
I heard it was like it separated your skin a little bit from your... I don't know.
No, is total bullshit. That is not a...
Yeah. No. Oh, no. No one's yet come up with a mechanism how it works.
What if it's like the slanket? Where it's clearly intended for another thing.
I think it's literally clearly intended for tucking.
Boom. So the slanket is intended for people in wheelchairs. It's a robe or a blanket you can put on and arms and cool, you're good to go. But the only reason they were able to sell it to people in wheelchairs is because they marketed it broadly enough to people not in wheelchairs. Hence the slanket. What's the other one? There's another.
I heard every stupid product you see on TV, like a banana slicer, a jar opener, is all for people with disability issues or mobility issues.
This whole athletic tape thing is like, here we make the perfect product for trans women. Well, we can't just sell it to trans women. We have to broadly market it. Let's pretend it helps athletes.
There you go. And then they started selling it for that. No,
Cha-ching.
It's KT Pro Tape Extreme.
Down below.
Waterproof. It'll pull off, it'll stick to your skin great, and then it'll pull off without issue.
Nice and clean.
And it'll do you a real good tuck. So
And then you can swim.
Yeah, I've used it before at the beach.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've had good and bad. No, you've had only good experiences. You've had other
the
bad
second time I didn't buy the extreme.
It was the
and
wrong
that caused me problems because I was in the ocean and my tuck fell apart.
Swam.
And
it swam
that is a bad thing in a bikini. And I think I just sort of tucked how I normally would, and it kind of worked okay.
You hustled out and got back to the towel. You were fine.
But it's definitely go for the extreme because that's the waterproof one.
Extreme.
If you're just and if you're just laying out, then you're fine. If you're just laying out, sunscreen, very important. But also you can use the KT Pro Tape regular. But if you're swimming, absolutely get the extreme.
Just get the extreme. And then you have the option to swim. Because the water's going to be this crystal clear blue. Oh, gosh. We got to go on a Caribbean cruise.
Okay. Well, we'll just go to Puerto Rico again. How about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And thank you, Jeff, for the question.
Thank you. All right, everyone.
Talk to you all next time.
Have fun cruising.
Bye.
Cruising. Yes. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep making more great content, go to patreon.com/genderrebels,
We have many different levels of support and lots of great rewards.
including drinks with the Gender Rebels at Stonewall.
Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That makes it easier for other people to find us.
And send your questions to questions@genderrebels.com or find us on Twitter @TheGenderRebels.
Music for The Gender Rebels is by Jasper the Colossal. Follow the link down below or download them on iTunes today.
And for all our episodes, visit genderrebels.com.
The Gender Rebels is a Come Back Sync production, copyright 2019. All rights reserved.
And to all you gender rebels out there, keep rebelling.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I mean, I get that it's not ideal for 10 seconds of silence, but I think we can do it anyway.
Okay.
Rackle. Are you going to settle down? What a good boy. Hi.